we're going to preview the NFC North at this moment in the show. So when you look at the NFC North, this was the standings from last year. The Packers, they won the NFC North with a 13-4 record. The Minnesota Vikings, they finished the season 8-9. The Bears, they were 6-11. And the Detroit Lions were the Detroit Lions. They finished 3-13-1. So when you look at the Vegas odds and their expectations for the NFC North, the NFC North, this is Vegas odds. They have the Packers winning the NFC North. Go, Pack, go, once again. And then you got the Vikings at plus 225. You got the Lions at plus 900. And you got the Bears at a plus 1,500. Let me read those again. You got the Packers at a minus 60. They are the favorites to win the NFC North. You got the Vikings at a plus 225 in second place. Lions plus 900. Bears plus 1,500. When I look at the NFC North, let's start off with the Green Bay Packers, the team that has dominated the NFC North. They have, in the last 10 years, the Packers have won the NFC North 7 of those 10 years. Also, the Packers have won the NFC North 3 straight years. And under Matt LaFleur, the Packers are 39-10. So far in Matt LaFleur's young coaching career, the Green Bay Packers have been the best team in the NFC North. And then the other team that's been the realistic competition, because we don't take the Bears or the Lions serious. The only realistic competition for the Packers has been the Minnesota Vikings. That's why I'm so excited for Sunday's matchup in Minnesota. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers are traveling to Minnesota to take on Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. I can't wait for it. I'm going to break down that game on Thursday night show, my wise picks of the week. But in the NFC North, Vegas has the Packers over under at 11.5. The only games that the Packers are underdogs in this year are in week 3 at Tampa and week 8 at Buffalo. Those are the only 2 games the Packers are considered underdogs this season. So when I look at the Green Bay Packers, it's a new day in Green Bay. Normally, in years previous, when I talked about the Green Bay Packers, I always led with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers offense because they had the best receiver in the NFL in Davante Adams. So when you talk about best quarterback receiver duos in the NFL, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Tom Brady, Mike Evans, the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the NFL for the last 4 years has been Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. So every time I talk about the Green Bay Packers, I always talk about Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams in their offense before I get to the defense, because the offense has been the strength of the team. But not this year. The strength and the weakness of the team has reversed. The defense is the strength of the Packers team this year. And that's why I'm so excited as a Packers fan. We all know defense wins championships. Offense sells tickets. And so when you look at this Packers defense, they are led by defensive coordinator Joe Barry in his second year. I like what Joe Barry did last year. I had my questions about Joe Barry heading into last season, but he proved me wrong. And I had to give him credit as the season went along last year, because the Packers were a top 10 defense in the NFL last year. You look at the Packers secondary. They probably have the best secondary in the NFL. You got Jair Alexander, who's an all-pro. You got Eric Stokes. You got Rasul Douglas, who you re-signed in free agency. So I love the Packers secondary. Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, Rasul Douglas, best secondary in the NFL. In the back end, you still got Adrian Amos. You still got Darnell Savage. And then at the linebacker spot, they re-signed Devondre Campbell in free agency. They drafted Quay Walker out of Georgia, who I love, and I think he's going to make a tremendous impact immediately this year. He's going to be impactful immediately once the season starts. They got great pass rushers in Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith. Up front, you still got Kenny Clark and Dean Lowry. They got Devontae Wyatt, who is also out of Georgia, who I believe is going to make an impact on this defense. And then you brought in Jaron Reed in free agency. I'm telling y'all right now on Wise Guy Sports, on the Worldwide Sports Network, the Packers will have a top 5 defense in the NFL. I'm saying it right now. The Packers will have a top 5 defense in the NFL this season. So I love our defense. I love the moves that the Packers organization made in free agency. And I love the draft, bringing in a Quay Walker, a dynamic linebacker who can make plays on your defense, and a Devontae Wyatt, who some people have compared to Warren Sapp. I love this defense. It is going to be an elite defense. And this has not always been the case in Green Bay. For many, many years, Aaron Rodgers has had to carry the Green Bay Packers. Not this year. They got an elite defense. And I believe at the beginning of the season, while the Packers offense with their unproven receiving core is trying to get into a rhythm and get on the same page with Aaron Rodgers, I think it's going to be the Packers defense that's going to help them in the early part of the season be able to win games. Now, let's go to the Packers offense. Offensively, they are led by the great Aaron Rodgers, the undisputed best quarterback in the NFL. He's the back-to-back NFL MVP. And last year, these were Aaron Rodgers' statistical numbers last year. 37 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 4,115 passing yards. He completed 69% of his passes. Just another great season at the office for the great Aaron Rodgers. Like 37 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I know some quarterbacks who have thrown 4 interceptions in a single game. Aaron Rodgers only had 4 interceptions an entire season. He's also the only player in NFL history with 5 seasons of at least 35 passing touchdowns. Only player in NFL history with 5 seasons of at least 35 passing touchdowns. And so one thing about Aaron Rodgers is we know that he's going to have the Packers in a position to compete for a Super Bowl year in and year out. But for Aaron Rodgers, and this is me coming as an analyst and a fan, it's all about the postseason. All about the postseason. There is no excuse for Aaron Rodgers to not have the Green Bay Packers back into the Super Bowl picture this season. It's a shame that the great Aaron Rodgers has not only won 1 Super Bowl, but only has 1 Super Bowl on his resume. It's a shame. And as great as Aaron Rodgers is, this is me taking all bias out of it. Aaron Rodgers needs to win another Super Bowl. It has to happen. I think as a talent, Aaron Rodgers is the top 5 quarterback of all time. I really, really do. I believe that. I think when you look at Aaron Rodgers and how he's performed, I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Peyton Manning. I know everybody got the perception out there and they talk about Peyton Manning, and I love Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was an all-time great. Peyton Manning won 5 NFL MVPs, and Peyton Manning is a 2-time Super Bowl champion. But if you look at Peyton Manning's playoff numbers, Aaron Rodgers has better playoff numbers than Peyton Manning. Aaron Rodgers has less interceptions thrown than Peyton Manning. Aaron Rodgers has a higher completion percentage than Peyton Manning. So I think when you look at their careers in totality, Aaron Rodgers is better than Peyton Manning. I've been screaming this for years, but everybody loves Peyton Manning. So nobody wants to talk about this. We love Peyton Manning. So don't you dare say that Aaron Rodgers is better than Peyton Manning, Trey, because a lot of y'all out there don't like Aaron Rodgers. I don't like my quarterback. I understand. Aaron Rodgers is one of those individuals that he's arrogant. You know, he's arrogant and he's aloof, as they say. So I understand why some people get rubbed the wrong way by Aaron Rodgers, but it is undeniable how great of a quarterback Aaron Rodgers has been in his career. I'm going to give you somebody else Aaron Rodgers is better than. He's better than Drew Brees. Drew Brees has never won an NFL MVP at any point in his career. Also, in the postseason, Drew Brees didn't have the success that Aaron Rodgers has had in his career. He hasn't. So Aaron Rodgers is better than both Drew Brees and Peyton Manning. But I think the standard that we hold Aaron Rodgers to is similar to the standard that we hold LeBron James to. Like, we saw LeBron James so many years get to the NBA Finals. I think LeBron had like 9 straight NBA Finals appearances, and he didn't win all of those Finals appearances. He lost a lot of those Finals, so we hold it against LeBron, not realizing getting to an NBA Finals is hard enough. That is already difficult, getting to the NBA Finals. But we always judge LeBron because he came up short in the NBA Finals. It's the same thing that happens with Aaron Rodgers. Same exact thing. Aaron Rodgers has been to multiple NFC Championship games in his career. He's only won one NFC Championship game, and I agree that in the NFC Championship game, Aaron Rodgers has not played his best football. But folks walk around here and they pretend like Aaron Rodgers has been awful in the NFC Championship, and that's just not the case. But he's getting to the NFC Championship. If other quarterbacks like Matt Ryan, like a Ryan Tannehill, like a Phillip Rivers, if they were getting to multiple conference championship games, we would be looking at them in a different way and giving them credit for getting to a conference championship. But because it's Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers is judged on a different standard, we always criticize Aaron Rodgers for losing in the NFC Championship game. It comes with the territory of being greatness. That's what it comes with it. But offensively, when we look at the Green Bay Packers, I love the running back duo with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I think that's the best running back duo in the NFL. I think that is the strength of their offense, especially considering they got a lot of unproven skill position players. You're going to have to rely on Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon a lot this season. Not only running the football, but they're going to be expected to catch the ball out of the backfield as well. I think Aaron Jones is going to have a great season, not only running the football, but also being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a matchup nightmare for opposing defensive coordinators. So I like their running back duo with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. You look at the receivers, they're unproven. You look at Alan Lazard. He's dealing with an undisclosed injury right now, but hopefully at some point he returns and he can play. I hope he's in the lineup this week against Minnesota. I hope it's nothing serious. But you look at their receiving corps. Alan Lazard, Sammy Watkins, he's injury prone. Randall Cobb is at the end of his career. Father Time is undefeated. He's a reliable target for Aaron Rodgers, though. Like, I believe Randall Cobb is one of those players that's very few that Aaron Rodgers actually trusts. We know he trusted Jordy Nelson. He trusted James Jones. He trusted Devontae Adams. He trusts Randall Cobb. So Randall Cobb is a reliable target in this Packers offense. But Randall Cobb is over the hill, and we have to see what he has left in the tank. You got Amari Rodgers. He had a disappointing rookie season. He only had like 4 receptions for 45 receiving yards. So he had a disappointing rookie season last year. So he's going to be expected to improve in his sophomore season. You got rookies in Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson who are unproven, and they're going to have to play well in order for the Packers to meet expectations and win the NFC North. You're going to have great seasons from Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. I like Romeo Doubs. I've been hearing a lot about Romeo Doubs up there in Green Bay and how he has had a tremendous training camp. And he was pretty good also in preseason action with Jordan Love. If he's doing good with Jordan Love, imagine what he could do with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. I love the Packers offensive line. Once they get back David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins, I believe the Green Bay Packers offensive line will be one of the best in the NFL. Now, David Bakhtiari, he already announced that it's a good chance he's going to play in week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings. So he said he's good to go. Elton Jenkins, he's still rehabbing from a season-ending injury last year. So if they can get back Elton Jenkins and David Bakhtiari, two of their best offensive linemen on this team, they're going to be in good shape. You got Josh Myers at center, John Runyon at guard, Jake Hampton as well. So I like the Packers offensive line. The biggest question for the Green Bay Packers is going to be the unproven skill position players. If someone can step up in this Packers offense and be a reliable target for Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers will be just fine because the defense is going to be a top 5 defense in the NFL. I got them on my fantasy team, so I'm definitely excited about that. And you got the best coach in the NFC North in Matt LaFleur. leading your team, and you got Aaron Rodgers. So, I think they'll be just fine. This is an interesting stat about Aaron Rodgers before we move on and talk about the Minnesota Vikings. This was a post that I seen. It was a question that says, which happens first for Rodgers? Will he throw 500 touchdowns or finally throw 100 interceptions? He currently has 449 touchdowns and 93 interceptions. Which one is going to happen first? Will it be 500 touchdowns or 100 interceptions? Crazy to think, ain't it? Like, that's a 5-to-1 touchdown interception ratio for his career. The dude is transcendent at the quarterback position. Now, let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings and my expectations for the Minnesota Vikings. The over-under with the win totals for the Minnesota Vikings are 9.5. Oh, real quick, before I move on and talk about Minnesota, over-under for the Green Bay Packers, 11.5. I'm rolling with the over. Go, Pack, go. I'm not going to roll with the under. I'm rolling with the over. Go, Pack, go. Packers will be 12-5 at worst. At worst, they'll be 12-5. So I'm going with the over and the over-under win totals for the Green Bay Packers. Now, Minnesota. Let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Over-under for the Minnesota Vikings is at 9.5. They are led by new head coach Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell, in his career, he is an offensive guy. I mean, last year he was at the LA Rams. He was the offensive coordinator. Then the year before that, he was the offensive coordinator in Washington. And he was also the quarterback's coach and passing game coordinator. So he knows his offense. That's his expertise. And I think now that he is the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, I believe this is going to help Kirk Cousins. I think one of the main issues with the Minnesota Vikings in previous years has been Mike Zimmer was the head coach in previous years. Mike Zimmer is a defensive mind. That's his number one expertise as a head coach. That's his strength. That's what he knows. I don't think Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins had the best relationship when Zimmer was the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think they had the best relationship. And I think that was a part of the reason why the Minnesota Vikings were inconsistent. They were inconsistent. We all know they got talent. They got talent, and they got a good quarterback in Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is not elite, but Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I mean, last year, Kirk Cousins, he had 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 4,221 passing yards, quarterback rating 103.1. So I look at Kirk Cousins as being a good quarterback. I think you can win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins if things go your way in a playoff run. I really do. I look at Kirk Cousins as being on the same level as a Derek Carr, as a Dak Prescott, on a good day, a Ryan Tannehill. I look at Kirk Cousins as being on that same level. Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, and Derek Carr are all better than Ryan Tannehill. I know everybody be like, why you be throwing Ryan Tannehill in there? I think Ryan Tannehill at his best on some days is good. He's good. And I think Kirk Cousins is that caliber of quarterback. I think you can win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. I love the Minnesota Vikings skill position players. You got Justin Jefferson, a top 10 receiver in the NFL. You got Adam Thielen, who I believe is the best second option when it comes to receivers on his team. Like, when you look at the NFL and second receivers on their team, Adam Thielen is the best second receiver you could possibly have on your team. You got KJ Osborne. At tight end, you got Irv Smith Jr. And then at running back, you got Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in the NFL. He can also catch the ball out of the backfield. So I like the Minnesota Vikings skill position players. They got better skill position players than the Packers do. Running back is up for debate. Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones. I probably would say that Dalvin Cook is better than Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, but Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon is a dynamic duo. The difference between the Packers and the Vikings is the Packers have a significant upgrade at quarterback with Aaron Rodgers compared to the Vikings with Kirk Cousins. But I like the Minnesota Vikings offense. At center, you got Garrett Bradbury, right guard Ed Ingram, right tackle Brian O'Neill, left tackle Christian Darrisaw. They got a decent offensive line. Decent offensive line. Nothing that's great, but they're decent. They're decent. Now you look at the Minnesota Vikings defense, and their defense is led by defensive coordinator Ed Donaldson. And defensively, they got Dalvin Tomlinson as a pass rusher. You got Harrison Phillips at nose tackle. Danielle Hunter, who's been a nice pass rusher in this Vikings defense. Their linebackers are really, really nice with Hunter, Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks. They've signed Zadarius Smith, former Packer, in free agency. Let's see what he has left in the tank. Defensive backs are average. You got Patrick Peterson. Want to still see what he has left in the tank. Harrison Smith is a nice safety in their back end. So I like this Minnesota Vikings team. I really, really do. I look at their over-under. I think it's going to go under, though. 9.5, I would say the Minnesota Vikings finished literally right there at 9.5. I would say they finished 9-8. I got them being one game better this year than they were last year. I got them finishing 9-8. I like their team, but it's not a team that's a team that wows me. I'm not like sitting up here like, man, they got one of the best rosters in the NFL. I like their roster. It's a good roster. It's not a great roster. So I got them finishing 9-8. And if they exceed expectations, they could possibly finish 10-7 or 11-6, give or take. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram with These Guys Know Sports. Let's transition. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears and my expectations for the Chicago Bears. They're over under a 6.5 games. So they brought in new head coach Matt Eberflus. And Matt Eberflus, he is a defensive guy. He previously was a defensive coordinator with the Colts for 3 years. He also was a linebackers coach in Dallas. He was a linebackers coach in Cleveland. So he has some college experience as well on his resume. So Eberflus is a defensive guy, right? I look at this Chicago Bears offense. They're led by Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields. I thought when he was at the Ohio State University, Justin Fields was sensational. Let me look at his college numbers. 67 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He completed 68% of his passes. So I thought he was a great quarterback at Ohio State. And then last year in his rookie season, he wasn't impressive, but I saw flashes of Justin Fields. And I said, okay, I could see the ceiling being high for Justin Fields because he has high potential. Last year, he only had 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He had 1,870 passing yards. I said he should have been the day one starter last year, week 1. Matt Nagy was the head coach of the Chicago Bears. It was a mess in Chicago last year. I know Bears fans in the Windy City are sick and tired of the Chicago Bears not meeting expectations. I mean, Chicago is a football town. I know Michael Jordan won 6 NBA championships for the Chicago Bulls. But make no mistake about it, Chicago is a football town. It's not a basketball town. It's a football town. I think about the Chicago Bears in the 60s and 70s with Mike Ditka, and they had so many great teams, back in the day with Walter Payton. And then even, in the years when the Chicago Bears had horrible quarterback play like Rex Grossman, they always had a solid defense. They always had nice linebackers like Brian Urlacher, like Lance Briggs. They always was a team that exceeded expectations, even in spite of having terrible quarterback play. They've had terrible quarterbacks in this organization. So I think when you look at Justin Fields, Chicago Bears fans need to be happy that they have Justin Fields now because you can really build your team around Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields has the potential to be one of the best young quarterbacks that we have in the NFL. We talk about Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott. I think when Justin Fields learns the quarterback position, because that's what you have to do when you're a rookie and in your sophomore season, you have to learn how to be an NFL quarterback. Once he learns the NFL, I believe Justin Fields can be a quarterback that the Chicago Bears can build around for future seasons to come in Chicago. I think they can build around him for the next 20 years. I really, really believe in Justin Fields. So I want to get that out there. I like Justin Fields a lot, and I think he has tremendous promise. But I don't like his skill position players that he's going to be throwing the ball to. They got Darnell Mooney, Byron Pringle, Velvet Jones Jr., Cole Kmet. I mean, who are these dudes? I don't like his skill position players at all. They let go of Allen Robinson in free agency. I like their running back in David Montgomery. He is a Cincinnati native. Shout out to David Montgomery. I'm hoping he have a great season this year. David, come on the show if you want to on Wise Guy Sports, man. I like David Montgomery a lot in their backfield, but I don't like his skill position players. And in the offensive line, I think is a big question mark. They got Lucas Patrick. They got Tevion Jenkins, Riley Reef. I mean, they're okay. They're decent. In free agency, they brought in Equanimeous St. Brown. He's a former Green Bay Packer. So the Bears, they always seem to figure out a way to sign players that the Packers no longer want. I mean, St. Brown used to be in Green Bay. He didn't produce much for us, so we let him go. And the Bears, of course, picked him up. So, they get sloppy seconds when it comes to him. And I like St. Brown. He's not a horrible player, but he didn't produce much in the Packers offense. So I don't really like the Bears skill position players. I like Justin Fields, though. They got to give him more to work with. Defensively, they still got Raekwon Smith. Earlier in the offseason, he requested to be traded out of Chicago. He took it back. He's going to be in Chicago this year. Up front, you got Angelo Blackson, Justin Jones. Still got Robert Quinn. I like Robert Quinn a lot. In their back end, they got Eddie Jackson, who's nice. Kyler Gordon is decent. Jalen Johnson. So their defense is okay. It's okay. I think you can put up some points against that Bears defense. The over-under for the Chicago Bears is 6.5. I'm going under. I don't think they're going to win over 6 games. I think they're going to finish 5-12, maybe 6-11 at best. So I got them going. I got it going under. Let's go to the Detroit Lions. The over-under for the Detroit Lions is 6.5 as well. And the Detroit Lions, they are led by Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell, I actually think he did pretty good in his rookie season. In his rookie season, as being first-year head coach in Detroit, Dan Campbell, his record was 3-13-1. So they won 20% of their games. They were last year in the NFC North. And they traded with the LA Rams last year and brought in Jared Goff. And Jared Goff is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Last year, this was Jared Goff's stats. Jared Goff, he had 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He had 3,245 passing yards. But at his best, at his core, Jared Goff is a game manager. We all know this. Jared Goff is a game manager. And I actually like some of the Lions' skill position players. At running back, they still got Jamal Williams. He's a former Packer. I like him at running back. You got DeAndre Swift as well in the backfield. At receiver, you got DJ Sharp. You got Josh Reynolds and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then at tight end, they got one of the best tight ends in the NFL in TJ Hawkinson. So I like him a lot. I really, really do. I like some of their skill position players. I do. But they got Jared Goff. And I don't expect Jared Goff to be able to get this team in contention for a playoff spot. I'm not going to spend much time talking about the Detroit Lions. I don't think they're a playoff team. Look at their over-under, say 6.5. I got them in under as well. I don't think they're going to win over 6 games. They'll finish 6-11, 5-12, similar to the Chicago Bears. So when I look at the NFC North as a whole, the Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions will be irrelevant. It's going to come down to the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. Who are you going to take with the money on the line and the chips to the front of the table? Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers? I'm going to bet on that bad man that is Aaron Rodgers. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to win the NFC North. I do believe the Minnesota Vikings will compete for a wild card spot. I think the Packers are going to finish either 12-5 or 13-4 again. I got Minnesota again finishing 9-8. At best, they'll finish 10-7. I think they got a shot at a wild card spot in the NFC. I really, really do. I think the Packers are going to still win the division, and I think the Packers are going to prove that in Week 1, Sunday afternoon in Minnesota.